How do you feel about all this?
Yeah.
Very happy,
Many of
excited.
you. I'm super happy. Nice to be here. Good afternoon to you all. Hi.
So how are you?
I'm in between what? Kalimera, Kalispera, before Kalinikta, so yes, I'm fine, I'm fine.
Okay, okay.
I'm fine.
You travel a lot all these days?
Yes, every day almost.
Okay.
But I came yesterday night.
Yes.
And had my full dose of my moussaka. I've done everything. And then
Okay.
I woke up this morning. I've done a lot of television. I've met with the Prime Minister. I've met with the Parliament. I've met with the President. And now I get to do what I say is a real highlight of everywhere I go, is that I meet with young people like you. So thank you very much.
Very nice, very nice. Okay. Are you ready for tough questions?
Yes, ask me what you want.
Okay. The people.
I just need a paper
The
and
people.
pencil, and then...
I want to start. Okay. Who wants to start? Ποιος θα σπάσει τον πάγο? Okay. Over there.
We can take 3 questions at a time if you want. And then
No, let's start with one question
ping-pong.
because it's a lot of people and all want to ask you.
But
So.
I need to...
Γεια σας.
Να ξεκινήσω.
Ναι, μπορείτε. Γεια σας. Hello.
I need your name, and I need paper and pencil, whoever can bring it for me.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Honorable President of European Parliament, respected principals, dear teachers and fellow students, my name is Bogosian Dina, and I'm a student of the 4th Senior High School of Paleo Falliro. I'm delighted to be given the opportunity to be amongst you in order to discuss and ponder on various issues that concern the student community in its entirety. It's very likely that you have heard about the Greek citizens' protests against the privatization of Greek universities. That being said, the main concern of university as well as high school students is for the public university degree not to be equalized to the privately run university degree as far as its validity is concerned. In the light of this, I would like to ask you the following question. Does European law prevail over constitutional law? If so, where does the European Parliament stand on Article 16 of the Greek Constitution? I'm specifically referring to paragraphs 5 and 8, which state that, and I quote, higher education should be provided exclusively by the public sector. The establishment of higher education institutions by private individuals is prohibited. How is that possible? Since we're part of the European Union, and the same way our country can establish university departments in another European country, can't other countries do the same in Greece? Is there a possible way the European Parliament could intervene in this situation? Thank you.
All right, so, easy first question, I see. So, thank you for being active as a student. I would like to say that because I spent most of my youth, also here actually, in Athens and universities, at the time being a representative of a pro-European, asking for better access, quality education, wanting standards of all countries to be the same. That's what the European Union tries to do. It is not about making everybody the same, but about us making sure that the quality and the standards and the rights that you have in some countries are also protected in the country that you come from. Now, you mentioned supremacy of EU law. In essence, I will answer. You asked a very legal question. I will answer you as a lawyer because that's what I specialized in. Now, there are some issues where the European Union has full competence. In other words, trade. When we talk about common agricultural policy. When we talk about, in this case, migration, there are some powers that belong to the European level and some powers that belong to the member state level. In the area of education, the European Union was very clear in setting up projects such as Erasmus, and I want to ask, how many of you have ever been to Erasmus? Many of you have been. I had gone to to France, and I can tell you it was some of the best experiences I've ever had in my life. And this is part of the answer that I will give you in terms of making sure that you look at successful models of education in other countries and see whether it could apply to you. Now, the European Parliament, you said, what can we do? We actually ask quite a lot of questions. We look into everything. Sometimes there are those who like it, there are those who say, okay, you know, you need to keep your place. But for me, it was very clear that if you are elected, and I would like you to ask this question that you asked me, also to the elected members of the European Parliament from Greece, the candidates that will run for the European Parliament from Greece, and those who will be then elected after June. Do you know how many members of the European Parliament there are from Greece? 20. Ah, you were prepared. Yeah, good audience, good audience. So 21. And in that case, this discussion that you are having, and I understand it is a very active discussion, and to see what is the line between public and private, and whether models that have worked in other countries can be imported or exported. So I would say, have this debate with your political leaders, come up with a position, and fight for it. And the European Parliament will ensure that that right that you have will continue to be protected.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. The first question was a little bit vague with a lot of topics, so I think it's better if we go a little bit faster, a little bit smaller question. So, okay, sir, over there. Hello. No, you have to press the button. Να πατήσει το κουμπί. Να γίνει πράσινο.
Hello, welcome to Athens. My name is Dimitris Paleogiannis. I have dedicated my efforts and time the past 10 years in responsible tourism practices, working with family-run businesses and destinations. Would like to raise two topics concerning and impacting cultural heritage preservation, managing tourism development, and the future of the next generation, particularly in rural areas. Rural depopulation in Greece is a fact. Young people depart, villages are deserted, village schools close, rural areas are left with a graying population. Tangible and intangible cultural heritage is getting weaker year by year. What is the EU strategy on this issue concerning the preservation of local identity, tradition, and authenticity? And if I may expand this question and connect it with my niche, tourism, mismanaged tourism growth and mega investments expanding in vulnerable communities and natural ecosystems with limited or questionable community participation are also affecting destination identity and change local life. What are the EU plans for supporting and protecting family SMEs in the industry and balancing tourism growth responsibly for the generations to come? Thank you.
All right, so thank you for mentioning cultural heritage, and I cannot, think of a better place than Greece to mention it. In any part of Greece that I go, whether it's in the mainland or any island I have visited, you always see the individual identity of that island, the history, the specificities, the ingredients that you use in what you eat, the local politics, and then, yes, a trepidation, I don't know how that would translate into Greek, a fear that what used to be will no longer be. I remember this was a very big discussion that we had in my country. I also come from an island, 20 years ago joined the European Union, where we said, will being in the European Union, one, help us be better? I am strongly and utterly convinced that the answer is yes, even though those who then did not agree today say yes. Two, does the European Union try to make us all the same? No, the European Union is actually what it is because of the fact that we bring in together our different cultures, our different languages, our different traditions, our different ways of doing things. I come from the south, I'm married to somebody from the north, my husband is from Finland, so you cannot find somebody much further than me than that. But we both come from European Union member states and feel very comfortable as different nationals also our children who are half and half, in the European Union. I was asked a similar question in Spain, and I was also asked that question in France, with two different reasons. One, in Spain, that you have a vast part of the country where people feel that they need to move to bigger cities, to study, to work, to have economic potential. And two, in France, where young people told me, we feel that we are so far away from the capital city and when decisions are being made, so why would we vote? And my answer to both those, and I will add to that your question, is that culture is the one thing that keeps the European Union having a positive effect on EU citizens. Two, when the pandemic hit, when COVID hit, the European Union took a very courageous and brave decision to adopt the so-called Recovery and Resilience Facility. These are funds, regional funds, money, split into two, digital and green transition, that have to specifically be used to address concerns like you have. And three, that when we talk about that green transition and the digital transition, we talk, of course, about digital access. We make sure that if you're even the last person living on one island, your rights are not disadvantaged compared to somebody living in the center of Athens, even with some things as necessary, I would say, as health services and education, as we mentioned before. And thirdly, that we encourage national governments to use those funds for projects to help entrepreneurship. Now, entrepreneurship means that because of the fact that the pandemic had serious consequences of our economy, to varying degrees because of the war in Ukraine and also what is happening now in the Red Sea, this has had a direct impact on our economy. We have had to create what we call social and economic cushions. And it's those cushions that have to go to making sure that that cultural identity, that ability to grow, that ability to survive as a small business, even with one employee, if you're a bakery on an island, if you have artisanal production in an island, that service is protected. Is the European Union perfect at this? No. Could we have done better in the past? Yes. Were there maybe moments when we said, look, there is an inevitable movement of people towards bigger cities? I think the pandemic showed us that. So I think we need to rethink. We have called in the European Parliament to have a specific portfolio of culture, and that also links to sustainable tourism. Why? Because, and I said I come from an island, I have that experience. When you have a situation of overcrowding, people no longer feeling like they are comfortable in their own situation, where we talk a lot about migration, but not enough about filling labor market gaps. And also, in this idea of overdevelopment, we forget where we came from. So, the European Parliament is very much along those lines. Again, I would encourage you to make sure that in the electoral programs of different political parties, that is at the top, or almost at the top, of the priorities that you have.
Okay. Thank you very much. Before we have a conversation over here, I met a lot of people. I met a fantastic girl. I go over there. She's name is Melia.
Meia.
She's over here.
Yes.
Hello. Do you want to stand up? Yeah. Do you want to microphone? Okay. You have a question?
Hello.
Hello.
How old are you, Meia?
I am 10 years old. And I wanted to ask you about the nature. Do you have a plan about how to make the world a better place for the next generations?
I wish my sons could talk like that when they were 10 years old.
It's amazing, I told you.
Thank you so much.
I will now get a message from one of them going, can you stop talking about us whenever you go somewhere? But, so first of all, Mayor, thank you very much. You know, we consider ourselves, and this is my responsibility, I'm a little bit older than you, and my appeal would be to all of you, who are probably all of you a little bit older than Mayor, to realize that we have a climate emergency that is sticking. You saw it. You see it here in Greece. Whether we talk about droughts, flooding, fires that you have here, whether we talk about the sea around us that is getting warmer, that is affecting our flora, our fauna. And we have adopted a lot of laws in the European Parliament to protect nature in order to press, I would say, a pause and understand that the impact we are having when compared to previous, I'm not even going to say centuries, but decades, so as old as you are, 1 decade, previous ones, where we were going at such a fast pace that we have realized that we are the last generation to do something about it. And it is my responsibility to make sure that when you are 17, because in Greece you can vote at 17, you can look back and say, have the politicians who have represented me done enough? Now, I mentioned the green transition before, right? We're talking about what we are doing to restore nature, to make sure that people can live side by side, how we can eat better, the quality of our air is better, the quality of our water is better. All of these are projects of the European Union, and we invest a lot. Now, what we are making sure is that when we do that investment, when we make that investment, is that you feel it, right? In other words, that you as citizens need to see that it's happening. And it is about us explaining and you being able to see tangibly that things are better. And I'll give you one example. You see, this theatre would not be possible, would not exist if it were not for European Union funds. That's what the European Union is about, in making your life, your possibility of access, the world you live in and the air you live in better. We need to do much, much more. The gentleman's a question before about degradation of nature is very real. And then I would also like to jump onto one thing, that what I would like is not only for us to protect nature, because that is important for you, that we make your life a little bit fairer and a little bit safer. Because in this world we are living in, instability that did not exist when I was growing up, or not directly, is now among us. And besides protecting nature, we need to protect the world, and peace has to be our #1 priority. That's how we can really give you a better life than your predecessors.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you, Melia. Maybe the next European President of the European Parliament, maybe. Okay,
yes,
I'll go over
run for
here.
elections.
Yes.
I would like one of you to stand up and say, I am running for elections, by the way. Good, there is a hand there, very good.
No one?
No, there are a few.
Okay, yes.
You don't have to run only for the European Parliament elections. There are many elections to run for.
Hello, Madam President.
Hello.
My name is Kleoktuzi, and I am in the 10th grade of Ionios School in Philothei, Athens. I would like to ask you, with migration remaining a complex issue, what initiatives is the European Parliament pursuing to address both the humanitarian needs of refugees and the challenges of managing migration flows effectively?
How old are you?
I am 16.
So first of all, thank you very much. If you asked me this 6 months ago, I would have told you, even less, that we are working on a migration pact, a big chunk of pieces of legislation that we have very much as a parliament worked on. Important for you to know also, this was handled by a Greek man in the European Commission called Margaritis Kinas. And we have found a balance between, on the one hand, security. right? In other words, how do we make sure that our borders are protected? This is important. 2, solidarity. That if you come from a country like this one, you do not feel that you have been left alone by the European Union to deal with a humanitarian challenge. And 3, that you don't in any way forget or realize that there is a very booming economic model in the world, and that is smuggling and trafficking. There are people in this world who prey on the most vulnerable individuals on the planet, mostly women and children. And as you see, they are placed on boats and face an almost certain death. That is not a Europe I want to see. That is not the Europe I want to live in. And when we talk about migration, and it's always a subject that is very topical during the European Parliament elections. These will be my 5th European Parliament elections, and I can tell you in every election, migration was always number 1, as a challenge, as a question, as a concern, but also as an opportunity. And it is always easy in migration to give a black or white answer. But I very proudly stand for the middle of the road, 1,000 shades of grey response. So I could have given you a very short one. Look, you know, my position is no migration at all. Or I could have given you the other end of the discussion, full migration for everyone. But the legislative agreement, the legal agreement we have done, is one that balances, as I said, asylum, security, and solidarity. I want to say one more thing, because I don't know how much longer I have, and this is very important for me. That when we talk about migration, sometimes we forget to talk about people. You know, and I don't want to be part of a Europe that forgets that behind every person there are hopes, there are dreams, and that there's a family hoping for that person to arrive to the destination alive. If we forget that, we end up talking about numbers and statistics, and we desensitize ourselves from those hopes and dreams. And I think it's our responsibility to never forget that these are human lives we are talking about.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let's stay a little bit here. Okay. Here you are.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you, Ms. President, for this opportunity you have provided us with. My name is Alexandros Karadimitriopoulos. I'm from.
You always go really fast with your name. So again?
Sorry. Alexandros.
Alexandros. Okay, good. Alexandros.
It's also Greek names are hard, aren't they?
Well, Alexandros. I can do Alexandros. Okay.
From the first high school of Papagos. My question, I think, coincidentally ties into some of the previous answers you have provided, and it's with regard to funds. So, how does the European Union decide the funds that are provided to each and every member state? What are the criteria that are employed?
That's a nice question.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alexandros. So, funds. If we were not in the current scenario, so we were not in a case where we have emerged from a pandemic and we were not going through a very difficult war on our continent, I would tell you that there is a multi-annual financial framework. Every 7 years, the European Union decides on how much money will be spent on migration, on agriculture, on cohesion, on regional development for 7 years. We are not living in that situation today. In fact, we have had to now top up the budget with 50 billion euros for Ukraine. Some funds, around 33, that have been given, allocated for migration, natural disasters, also as requested by Greece, by the way, and for us to invest more in science, technology, and research. On top of that, because of the situation we are in, we have adopted an unprecedentedly huge package called, as I mentioned before, the Recovery and Resilience Facility, which is aimed exactly at making economies recover and becoming resilient once again. And we also have the project called the Repower EU, which helps member states to invest more in renewables. In other words, move away from fossil fuels to renewables, moving away in some countries from coal and using oil into renewables that are either wind, solar, bio products, etc. Now, how are those funds disbursed? So first of all, there is an examination of the need and the pot. So the need will be presented by the government and saying, look, this is in accordance with our economic situation, population, of course, I'm trivializing, and there are many different criteria, Alexandros, but different metrics that will determine how much a country is eligible for. The money will be divided into so-called grants, which is money that is granted, and so-called loans. In other words, if the country needs more, then that country will be, the European Union will lend the money to the country. Now, what each and every country have had to do is present a so-called national plan. A national plan of saying, okay, I would like to spend X amount on this project, X amount on this transition. In some countries it has been about, as I said, investing in renewables. In other countries it has been to digitalize national archives. In other countries it has been to help households match our legislative demands. So in each country it's separate and different. In this country we have seen actually quite a lot of successful projects, and it's important to say that Greece has absorbed these funds very quickly and very well. And then there is an audit. In other words, that countries are examined as to how much, how was it spent, on what, and the result. And there we are very strict. In other words, countries are put very much on the spot as to how they have been spent. We are very rigorous, because I need to explain, you need to explain, your representatives need to explain that if there is even €1 that is spent from people's taxes, then you expect it to be spent well. And these are questions that are very much discussed everywhere, in each and every parliament. You have ministers that are dedicated and very intensive audits of how the money is spent. So I would tell you that this is, sometimes people say, oh, it takes too long. You know, at the moment we are discussing also the kind of packages that can be given to help sectors that are directly impacted. Speaking a little bit of I will go into the specifics. If we have the agriculture sector that is protesting in front of on Syntagma Square, if they are going to be asked for, if they are going to ask, for example, for certain things to be alleviated from a taxation perspective, from a fuel cost perspective, from a stringent regulation on imported goods from third countries perspective, that is all something that goes into discussions between the member state and the European level.
Okay.
Actually, there is one thing I forgot to say, that we entered these negotiations and say, yes, for more funds, for all these things that I've just mentioned, but do not touch the Erasmus Plus funds. That was European Parliament who did that, and I take full credit.
Okay, let's go to this. Oh my God, it's difficult, this.
We need some from this side, huh? I think
yes.
they're going to start.
So many people.
They're in the.
Okay.
Yeah, the lights.
Okay. I'll come to you.
Oh, yeah, fighting over the microphone. Okay. You know, we can join some questions if it's easier. Then I can be quicker. But
okay.
I mean, up to you. I don't want to tell you how to moderate this.
Okay.
Mr. President, my name is Elias Christoforadis. I'm from the First General High School of Ελληνικό. We understand that your time is limited, so I'd like to cut right to the chase. Ms. President, you are the third woman president to head the European Parliament, and you have made a great effort for women's rights. So why are you against abortion rights? Don't you think that this stance goes against your great efforts so far?
All right. Thank you. So, thank you. You know, in the beginning of the debate, we had the discussion about education, about what can be done on European level and on a national level. this would be an area where that is a discussion that is taking place on a national level, and it is in that context that I believe you have made that assertion, because you will also see that ever since I have been elected on the 18th of January 2022, that my position was extremely clear, that the position of the European Parliament is my position, and it is that position that I will seek to push everywhere. So this is a responsibility of mine, and I do it very carefully, and I do it very responsibly. Different member states have different national debates that are going on, and I think it's only fair to leave those member states have those discussions as they are taking place on a national level.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hello.
I want to go over here. Yeah, who wants? Here you are.
Hello,
Everybody has an opinion about my answer there. Good, good, good.
Hello, Mrs. President.
Hi.
My name is Fanis Vlachos. I'm a sophomore year student of International and European Studies. I would like to start by saying that EU is widely acknowledged to have demonstrated to, excuse me.
It's okay.
Demonstrated a commitment to supporting and strengthening the democratic principles and the democratic foundations across the EU and within the member states as well. And in light of the recent resolution expressing concern of the European Parliament, expressing concern about Greece's adherence to the rule of law, especially in the fields of freedom of the press, the interception scandal, police brutality, and immigration management, I would like to ask you what is your personal opinion first, and what can the European Parliament and the EU as a whole do to overcome these issues, and how can the EU elections be affiliated with such issues as well? Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. So, following on from the answer I gave to the previous question, I represent the Parliament, and the position that is adopted by the European Parliament is one that I will push and I will execute, if you wish, in my debates and discussions in every member state. The European Parliament places a huge importance to the rule of law. Why do we do this? Because if you want to join the European Union, we make your country go through so many turbulences, ups and downs, hills and highs and lows, in order for you to make sure that you prove to us that you are strong on corruption, that your judiciary works, that political checks and balances exist, that legislation can be easily amended, that accountability is held, that there's transparency of decisions. I'm giving you a whole list, that equality is guaranteed. And here, this is the reason why the European Parliament insisted for many, many years, and I was one of the members that was behind that insistence, that the Commission every year issues a rule of law report. In other words, we have a snapshot of each of the 27 member states, not one or the other, in order for us to be as impartial as we need to be, and say, okay, so there you need to do more on this. On that issue, you have not even started. Last year we told you this. If we ask questions, you need to answer them. And that is within the spirit that discussions in the European Parliament take place. It is within the spirit that discussions have taken place today in the meetings that I mentioned with you this morning and just as soon as I entered. And it is within that spirit that we will continue as we wait for the next rule of law report to see the advancements of different member states. And the questions that are asked are, either related to specific events or specific questions or specific legislative activities. In other words, what has happened since that incident? Has legislation been introduced? Such as in the case, for example, of what is mentioned in the resolution on wiretapping, for example. There are also requests for better approximation between countries. And there, the European Parliament, and I join, and I said it this morning openly, is where I welcome the decision that was taken, both to increase democracy in order for more people to be able to vote in European elections with postal votes, and also for adopting the marriage equality decision in your Parliament. I think that is something that we can really applaud.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, now we'll make 3 questions. It's one from here. Who wants? Here.
There are about 75 hands.
Okay, you can make your question, yes. And then we'll do 2 more, and then the President will answer. Yes.
Thank you for the word, Madam President. I would like to ask you...
What's your name?
My name is Philip Vulgaris.
Okay.
I didn't hear it.
Philip Vulgaris. I'm here with MEPLS. And I would like to ask you, with the rise of digitalization and concerns surrounding data privacy and security, what legislative measures do you believe are necessary to foster innovation and economic growth within the EU while safeguarding citizens' rights and protecting against potential abuses of power by technology companies?
By what?
By technology companies.
Okay, well, 2 more questions. I want one more from behind over there. Who wants to do it? Yes. And the last one is over there. Okay, yes.
Hello, Mrs. President.
Hello.
My name is Nicoleta Dimitriou, and I'm spending my last year of high school, and specifically in the second Lyceum of Akarnes. So I have prepared a question for you. What are the competitive advantages of EU, and especially of us, the youth of Europe?
Okay, thank you very much. And the last question is... I have to go over there because no one asked over there.
With each question, more hands raised. So, and this is...
Okay, here you are. Okay.
Hello, Ms. Metsola. I'm Spiros Antipas. I would like to thank you for providing us the opportunity to express our concerns. We are from Ioannidis Model High School of Piraeus, and we have the following question. After the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, the European economy has made a huge increase in prices due to inflation and lack of resources that harms both producers and consumers. Has this been discussed in the European Parliament? Do we have a solution on that?
All right, so tech companies, I will be quick so we can try to take as many as possible. So cybersecurity is a huge concern for us. We, both as an institution, where are you? I have to see you. Both as an institution, because we are particularly vulnerable as a political institution. We have been actually under quite a lot of attack, especially when we have very strongly worded resolutions. And 2, as we approach an election. We have adopted the Artificial Intelligence Act. We are using the Digital Services Act in order to make sure that we get responsibility from the tech companies that are not only interested in how fast you scroll on your news feed, but also that if there is fake news, if there is disinformation and propaganda, if there is voter manipulation and voting behavior, let's say, interference, that then we have very strict regulation that is going to be implemented for the European election. This is, of course, very difficult. It's not easy to do. There is also a very fine line between freedom of expression and where we would say intolerance, xenophobia, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, anti-minorities, etc. But we need to be prepared, and we are prepared as a parliament, not only with our campaign, but also in the way we deal with such tech companies and the contracts that we are signing with them for the next few months. Now, Nicoleta, what are the competitive advantages of the... Actually, I'll answer that third. Russia and Ukraine. Yes, prices have raised. They have now stabilized. It was a big economic shock, especially so soon after the pandemic, and as we tried to slowly come out of that debilitating pandemic for all our economy. We have also redirected our attention to food security, to making it easier to invest in the European Union in order for us not to lose our competitiveness, and also finding new allies. You know, the European Union can, when we talk about strategic autonomy, not forget that we could find ourselves alone. And for too long we relied on some allies, some more reliable than others. And I think it is about time that we look to our immediate EU neighbors in order to have less energy islands, as we call them, but also to realize that we need to invest much more in our youth, in our research, in the fact that we need to be at the cutting edge, not only of, let's say, academic level, but also economic level, where we can invest in new sectors of economic growth. So that is where we will focus on as we continue to battle inflation and hope that prices will come down and affordability will go up. And we have huge parts of the population that today feel that they cannot afford. Household prices are too high, and pensions value have been wiped out. This is a reality, and we need to make sure that in all the projects I've mentioned, legislative things that we are inserting legislating upon in order to introduce, is that we never forget that these have to be cushioning the social and economic impact on our citizens. Competitive advantage of the EU. What I just said, in fact, and the difficulties that we, let's say, meet or have, is precisely our competitive advantage. In other words, the unity we have shown over the past years, that in times of crisis, Europe is united, that we find our competencies on security, on defense, on making it easier to travel from one country to another, making it more easy for you to be able to live, work, and study anywhere in the European Union. From a digital perspective, from an economic perspective, being the most climate ambitious continent on this planet is where we can really be competitive. And it is important that I tell you this, because you will meet people tell you, you know, being climate ambitious comes at an economic cost. No. What comes at an economic cost is if we leave behind citizens whom we have not explained our decisions to. And that's where I am convinced that we can be extremely ambitious in the way we tackle our climate concerns, while at the same time staying competitive and growing our economies. And here is where you come in. You know, when I was younger, I used to hate it when people like me were standing here and would tell me, you know, you are the future, your time will come, wait a little bit, now we are in charge. I hated that. That's the reason why I started running as a candidate when I was very young. Because I was saying, I know what we're going through as young people. And democracies, especially in this country where you vote at 17, you can really make a difference already at a young age. So your advantage is not only to vote, but to put the responsibility on elected politicians, to push them and hold them to account. Don't give that away, because if you do that, someone else will decide for you. That's your biggest advantage.
Okay. We run out of time, so 3 last questions, very fast. One from, yes? Fast, please.
You have a tough job, huh, George?
Sorry, what?
You have a tough job.
You have to let me do it. Yes.
Madam President, my name is Agatha Bagolen. I'm here with the 2nd Arsakio High School of Psychiko. Our question is, in 2022, there was 289 domestic attacks on media freedom, with journalists and other media being imprisoned, assaulted, and murdered. Considering that media freedom and pluralism are a part of the EU Charter of Fundamental Rights, what effective measures can the EU take to combat the ongoing deteriorations in the protection of journalists and activists and fight harassment tactics?
Okay.
Okay. I'll go over there because I see a young man. He's done so much time with your hand over there. Okay.
Hello. Good afternoon. My name is Michael. I'm 17, and I will speak for my school, Themistoklis. I'm a huge fan, by the way. I've seen you on multiple Instagram pages of the Parliament.
Oh, good, good. Do you like my posts?
Yeah. Every time. Anyway, recently we had a meeting with the mayor of Drapetsona, Keratsini, which is our local county, and he informed us that there's little to no direct connection between local authorities and the European legislation. Being a county that is plagued with a plethora of environmental issues, it is difficult to take measures against the environmental damage that is being done every single day without the help from our government. Given that information, we would like to pose the following question. Is it possible to have a meaningful communication with the local government to assist in the dissolution of the aforementioned issues and any other issues that might arise?
Okay. Thank you very much, Michael. Now, media freedom. If I had to give you one reason why I'm in politics, is that I wanted, besides the fact that my country should join the European Union, but to fight corruption and to allow in democratic societies the possibility for journalists to be able to ask the hardest questions, to investigate whatever they want without fear. In 2017, in my country, that ended. One of the most fearless, brave journalists was assassinated with a car bomb. Mother of 3 boys, very brave ones. Her name was Daphne Caruana Galizia. And the reason why she was assassinated is because there were very powerful people in the country, very closely associated to the politicians, that wanted to silence her. So that has set in motion what we have dubbed the Media Freedom Act, which we have now found an agreement on. Without the European Parliament, that would not have been possible, that we are helping journalists to protect them from what we call vexatious lawsuits, in other words, strategic lawsuits that are used to silence them, and that we need to train our judiciary in order to recognize such lawsuits when the judiciary is instrumentalized to go after journalists. So, does this mean that the situation is getting better? Unfortunately, no. In many countries, we see that attacks are increasing. However, we from the European Parliament have legislated to prevent just that, including cyber harassment. And here, very important also for all of you, is to be brave. When you are running for campaigns or you express your opinions online, you will find those who don't like it, who think that they can hide behind a keyboard or a mobile phone to attack you. Don't be afraid. Stand up to them and make sure you stick to your principles and your values. Michael, use the so-called Committee of the Regions. Go back to your mayor and tell him, please, there is a Committee of the Regions. It used to be presided over, by the way, by a Greek man called Apostolos Titsikostas from Thessaloniki. And he there brings together all the mayors of the European Union. And they are very correct in saying, yes, we need to have direct access to funding, we need to have direct access to justice, and in some countries the way it is organized is different to others. So ask your mayor to look at where better or other models of interaction exist, and also tell your members of the European Parliament to commit to that, and your representatives, because it is in all our interest. I'm elected on a European level, but I'm elected by my citizens, and I want to make sure that if there's one of my mayors who thinks that the European Union slighted him or that they were bypassed in any decision, that I should know and I need to do something about it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We don't have other time. That's it. I want to say a very big thank you, because we want politicians like you to stand in front of the young people and answer questions. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the European Parliament, Roberta Metsola, thank you very much for all. Thank you. Thank you. if you want to...
All right, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
How much time do I have? 0?
0. If you want to say something, if you want, I don't know.
No, just thank you for being so honest. Thank you for being so open. And please keep your, look what I've done. Hold your representatives to account, okay? And never stop asking questions. And most importantly, vote in June. There is Coldplay concert on that day. Don't just go to the concert and not go and vote. You have no excuse, okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.